Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining me, and hopefully joining me as I explore the amazing, incredible, diverse, amazing wide world of pens. Yes, I said amazing twice. I haven't received a new PenBBS pen for a while. My tongue is tied. So obviously I saw another year of pen, the 2023 Rabbit. I had to get it. It was not low cost, but let's take a look at it and let's see if it was worth the investment. Stay tuned. So once you remove the white sleeve, which is on a lot of PenBBS boxes, you'll see a nice box with PenBBS in gold there on the cover. This cover just pops off because this is a more upscale box than usual. And you'll see a nice insert reminding you 2023 is year of the rabbit, and there's a bunch of rabbits there. If you flip it over, you'll see a number of the pen, 548, and it gives you instructions in order to use the piston filler, which is the same in the 495. So the pen comes in a plastic sleeve, which has a number 8 on the back. Not certain what that relates to, and it's in there fairly tight fit. We open it up, we'll see a pen which is quite unique. There's a metal barrel where you can easily see the grain in that metal. Jewel in the cap. Top of the cap is engraved and it gives you the number. This is 666 out of 800. That's interesting. I like that. 666. The cap comes off in almost 2 turns, and we'll see a nice calligraphy nib. And as you saw from the label on the box, it's the number 13 calligraphy nib. There's a nice grind to it, and we'll see how it writes. And there's some nice engraving on the nib, and the section is interesting. The piston filler is the same as the 495, and as you can see, I've had the cap is all the way up, and you can see the red there for the piston mechanism, and with a little flat spot on it for the wrench. How could I not show the Year of the Rabbit pen on a turntable rotating, being observed by my pen friends? It's always a good thing to show it in this way. As we look at the pen more closely, I need to be very truthful and say I find this design just not something that appeals to me on any level. Individual design elements are okay, but taken as a whole, I don't feel it's a cohesive design. Maybe whatever PenBBS had in mind, they wanted to use a metal barrel. It also comes in blue. But, you know, it's a metal barrel, and yeah, it has some nice grain in it, but, you know, acrylic barrel would have worked good, or a clear barrel would have looked good also. No ink window. I mean, what's with the clip? I mean, it is really stylized and pretty much non-functional because it doesn't open up much, so you might be able to put it over some fabric, but that end of that clip looks like it's pretty sharp, so I wouldn't do that. And this piece up here certainly is very thin. Could be a stress point, so if you use that clip a lot, who knows how long it's going to last. Cap band is just a cap band. You know, this design with the concave and the edges there is replicated, so they're consistent in that aspect. You know, it's also here at the end of the section, it flares up. If we go to the very end of the barrel, you'll see that also. But there's like, it doesn't post at all, which makes, I don't know, no sense to me. It would have been easy to make a small change to dimensions to have it post and be able to put the cap somewhere. The nib design is good. I mean, this original number 13 nib had a different engraving on it. Here's what that looks like. So let's compare the last 3 Year of pens by PenBBS. At the top, we have the Year of the Ox, 2020 2021. In the middle, we have 2022, year of the tiger, and it came with this insert, similar to what we saw on the 2023 one. It's a nice single tiger there. And then the bottom one is the current one from PenBBS, obviously not the current one based on a year of the dragon, but also came with this insert where you have 3 rabbits there in a circle for the 20. So these pens all have some interesting common elements. Number one, they all have some design elements which are hard to understand. All of them have black caps, black sections, and black ends to the barrel. Vac filler, piston filler, piston filler. This new design piston is supposedly the same one that's in the year of the rabbit pen. Here we have a cabochon, a stone. Here we have also a stone embedded in very small clips. Here we have the standard sword clip. Both of them have different finials. They're all numbered pens, and they're numbered based on the total number produced. At least that's the impression. So the 2021 is number 153 out of 999. The 2022 is number 397 out of 999. And the year of the rabbit is 666 out of 800. So one would think that they made about 200 less of this pen versus these other 2 models. I don't think any of these models sold out. I think they're a design which may not appeal to a large population of pen users. I got the 2023 pen because I needed to complete the series. It certainly was not inexpensive, but I wanted to give it a shot. So I thought it was interesting to see how they've made very challenging designs, certainly not designs to appeal to their Western audience as much as some of the more standard design pens. The other thing these 3 year of pens have in common is they have a appropriate engraving on the nib, indicative of the animal in the year the pen is commemorating. Also some other bits of information, but no number 13 on the rabbit nib. These are those 2 interesting caps, and I'll use that term liberally. And when you remove the caps, the pen itself does share one thing in common. The threads are down near the nib. The one difference is in the ox, the cap actually just covers the nib. Nib stays wet because there's very little space there. And in the rabbit, the cap comes down in a more traditional way to attach to the pen. Again, not typical, and I think they work okay. I enjoy writing with the year of the ox pen. I've enjoyed it since day one. So one of the nice little features of the year of the tiger pen, which has the same piston filler as the year of the rabbit pen, is this nice engraving on that piston. Very nice little touch. I like that. And that's why I think a clear barrel would have been just as good as that opaque metal barrel that's on the rabbit pen. Here are 3 calligraphy nibs I have inked up, which we'll write with very quickly. The gold one is the one in the rabbit pen. The middle one is a number 1 nib that I put in a 355, and the one here in the nice blue 49 is a number 15 dragon, and hopefully you can see the dragon there on the nib. Maybe that'll be their year of the dragon pen, might have a nib similar. We'll see. Well, you may ask, well, Chris, what could a rabbit pen look like? Well, here's 2 examples from Hong Dion. This one is the rabbit is in some type of engraving. This came in multiple colors, and it's an N23. And this is for the month of the rabbit. This is a nice rabbit in the top of the finial. and also a lot of moons here because rabbit and moon are identified. These are two standard design pens, both commemorating the rabbit. If we take off the cap, we'll see a rabbit nib on the N23 in a gold color, and beneath it is just a typical Hongdian black nib, but the black nib goes well with the rabbit moon pen. And that rabbit nib up there also is like a long blade, long knife, and it has a nice little grind to it, which I enjoy writing with. The ink I plan to use, it's a nice green, comes in this beautiful bottle. I think Cedrus is the official name for it, but you notice the opening of the bottle is not very big, but when you try to put in the rabbit pen, it stops. This flare out here is bigger than the opening in the bottle. Bad design. Bad design for PenBBS that they would do that. So I decided to go with the old style bottles from PenBBS, which the pen will fit in with room to spare. And this is number 221, which I called the green blue. See how it works in the pen. So let me just start off. I love this number 13 nib. Feels wonderful on paper. Lays down a really, really nice line. You get a little bit of character and line variation based on the grind. It's just a pleasure to use. It feels good on paper. And this PenBBS ink seems to be fairly dry. Even though it lays down a generous ink patch, it dries really quickly. The smeared never even smeared, as our dogs are attacking something in the yard. So overall, as a nib, I like the way it writes. So that's the number 1 nib. Again, very, very smooth. If you go vertical with the pen, you'll get a finer line, but a little bit thicker on the horizontal. If you go down to more of an angle, the vertical gets wider than the horizontal. Interesting grind. So you can see the number 15 nib is certainly much broader when you lay it down at a little bit of an angle. Certainly much broader than the number 1. And you can see the end of the nib has a pretty good upturn to it. This is kind of like an exaggerated design of the standard PenBBS nib, but certainly gives you a much more interesting writing experience and lays down a lot of ink. So just to put things in perspective, here's a medium nib. As you can see, it's a much thinner line all the way around. And here's a standard fine nib, which I have in my Year of the Ox pen. It is finer than the medium. You can see here on the vertical lines. And it does open up nice. It feels good on the paper. This is the Ox pen, which I've had inked up since I started the pen. And I like it. And I recently refilled it The bottle wasn't deep enough to be able to fill with the vac filler. So I removed the nib, used a syringe, and now I have a really, really big fill, 4 milliliters or so. It'll last me for a while with this fine nib. So now it's time for some editorial comments, some dimensions. So overall, I don't really recommend this pen. I mean, you may fall in love with it. You may want to buy it for the reasons I did, because you want all the year of pens by PenBBS. I certainly overpaid for this pen. I found it more reasonable than some other sites. Currently, PenBBS is on a New Year's break, so you're not going to find any information on the pen until they come back. Here's those dates. Will I use this pen? I like the nib, so that's why I'll use it. I filled it up, and it took 1.4 milliliters of ink, which is a decent amount of ink for a piston filler. Not exceptional either way. The pen does feel okay in the hand, but it just has a strange feeling with all those shapes and curves and things of that nature. Let's do a final writing sample and call it a day. So I figured I'd show you a little bit how it compares to these other calligraphy nibs. Obviously the number 15 has the greatest variety to it. All of them are very smooth, lay down a nice patch of ink. They're good for that. So we've reached a conclusion of this video. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, finding some interesting pens that you want to hold in your hand and use to put some ink on paper. So we've reached the end of this video. The nib encourages you to use flourishes with your writing, which is always a good thing too. And we will say bye. Until next time, enjoy your day.